Good evening. If we could call this meeting to order. If we could please start with a moment of silence for prayer or reflection. Thank you.
So first up, we have excuse me, adoption of the agenda.
Any additions? Okay, seeing none.
Next, we have adoption of the minutes, item 3.1 on page 4. You'll find minutes from our May 7th meeting.
Any errors? Any omissions? All right, seeing none.
Okay, moving on now to reports. Our first report's item 4.1 on page 12. Audit Committee meeting, May the 8th. This is just for information.
Can I get a motion?
Sorry, so moved. Second.
If we could vote. That was unanimous, thank you.
The next report's item 4.2 on page 13, Administrative Committee meeting, of May the 9th. And this is for adoption and information with the Intermunicipal Collaboration Framework for adoption.
I will make that motion.
Second.
Questions or comments? Councillor Turnbull?
Your Worship, probably it would be better when it comes as a bylaw, but I just wanted to, as I always do, tell our public and also the rest of council that the tender recommendation for the gravity bypass in Northwest Trunk is a better long-term solution economically for our city, and it avoids future costs, and it allows the development of the north part of our city to allow us more big deals coming down the hoop as well as Aurora. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Friesen?
Your Worship, I just, for those who are listening, just as Councillor Turnbull does, I wanted to touch on the Intermunicipal Collaboration Framework. The amendments to the Municipal Government Act recently contemplate a stronger working relationship between municipalities that have boundaries that are contiguous, or boundaries actually that are common boundaries is a better way of putting it. And so it might imply when you read this that we haven't had or shared good relationships in the past. That's not the case at all. We've had a very strong working relationship with the county. And Redcliffe is one of our neighbors as well. I think this, just so people know, this mandates us to look at agreements and relationships that we have on shared services, things like transportation, water, wastewater, solid waste, emergency services, recreation, any other services for that matter that might benefit the residents of one or all or both of however you're working together on this. So the framework's really important. We've enjoyed an intermunicipal development plan that was ahead of its time really when we did it, and Councillor Hirsch and I worked on that with our neighbors. And so we were well ahead of the game on that. So some of it will be review, some of it will probably be new. But it's an era, I believe, that will look at stronger relationships that will provide mutual benefit to people as well as mutual monetary benefit over the long run. So just wanted to give people a little overview.
Thank you. Councillor Varga?
Through the chair, when I was looking at all the groundwork and everything that has to be done, I guess the $260,000 stood out in my books as to a lot of money. But I see that we have to write new bylaws and put new bylaws in place and all the coordination. And does that happen internally by the three, or does it? How does that all work for that money distribution and how it all works? And I know it's a $200,000 grant, and we're sticking $20,000 each into that for the total. But I'm just trying to figure out how that all works in the end for where the money goes to and comes from and how it's spent.
I'm going to defer to the CAO.
Through the chair to Councillor Varga, we anticipate that we would benefit from hiring a facilitator to support this work. So while each municipality will prepare the necessary agreements and bylaws and whatever are required to enact specific agreements, to get the right framework in place, the right umbrella document, if you like, because we're three parties with very different perspectives and different service levels and so on. Yeah, specifically, I believe we will spend a share of this at least getting a facilitator in place who's worked these kinds of agreements before it can help bring this to consensus. Because also, although we talk about voting and so on, I expect this framework will be a consensus framework. I don't think we're going to be enacting anything with, we may get bilateral agreements rather than trilateral agreements in some cases, but we will never have the desire or the wherewithal to force an agreement on anyone else by voting it in. So it will be consensus-based, and in order to facilitate that, having a professional facilitator might be very helpful.
Good, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, if we could vote. That was unanimous, thank you.
Next report's item 4.3, page 23, Development and Infrastructure Committee meeting, May the 9th. This is just for information.
I move that report for information.
Second.
If we could vote. That was unanimous.
Item 4.4 on page 24, Energy and Utilities Committee meeting of May 10th. Again, this is just for information.
Your worship, members of council, I move the report for information.
Second.
If we could vote. That was unanimous, thank you.
The next report's item 4.5 on page 25. You'll find the Public Services Committee meeting of May 14th. And this is for information, and it's the library annual report.
I move the report for information.
I'll second that motion.
Any comments on this report? All right, if we could vote. That was unanimous, thank you.
Item 4.6 on page 43 is the Administrative Committee meeting minutes of May 16th, and this is for adoption and information with the solid waste utility fee structure, the request to add Bert Moulton to the names registry, and a budget amendment for adoption.
Move adoption and information.
Any questions or comments on this report? Councillor Turnbull?
Thank you, Worship. I'm just going to speak about the budget amendment for the 2018 electric generation capital budget for the pump house upgrades. So this is money that was supplied by the province as part of our, and it's also part of our flood prevention program. And so we started out with a full fund, and we've spent so much money to date. And so we just need that budget amendment to ensure that we follow the rules, as I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Councillor McIntosh?
Thanks, Your Worship. Just quickly on item number 1, the residential recycling program. There's a lot of excitement in the community right now with jobs being announced, but I would argue that these blue bins being rolled out across the community has created a level of excitement as well. There's a lot of people very happy to see these bins rolling out and to find out that the net cost to the person in the community is less than $3 a month. I think is an absolute win for the consumer. So I would like to commend our waste management general manager and the partnership with CanPack, which is obviously a huge win for our city.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Councillor Dumanowski?
Well, just to follow the comments Councillor McIntosh said, there is a lot of excitement around it. I think we had a lot of leadway in time and education of this initiative. I recall hearing somebody say literally one morning they almost backed into their bin because it had been dropped off at the front of their property and they didn't anticipate, but they were so excited to see what was there. And I can tell you that the feedback I'm getting, and on a personal level, I put it to immediate use, and it was on time, and on the day it was stated that it was going to come, and it's come across very seamless. And I think, although there are people, and you hear the odd person concerned about any increased costs due to the fact that they already were taking on the recycling on their own, as we all were, to the bins, the fact that you now have this opportunity curbside, literally, for $2.89 or whatever it is a month is quite fantastic. And I think, even though we are late in the game, I think it's a testament to time, effort, and prudence. In the end, we have achieved a remarkable thing, and we'll just move forward from here. So well done to staff. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Councillor Turnbull?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I think if the public goes through the notes that's on how the recycling solid waste rate charges come about. So before, we would pay $21.77 a month for all our waste, plus our waste diversion program, and now we're going to pay $24.66. So my wife and I have recycled for a number of years, and we would pay for a private curbside because, well, it was just easier for us, right? And I was paying $24 a month. So as a citizen today, I'm going to save over $220 a year with this program. And I think the other thing is we have to remember is that not everybody would go to the green bins and recycle on their own. And the hope is that by having curbside pickup, that more and more people will find it easier, especially if there were seniors and don't have a vehicle or bigger items that they couldn't put in their car. And as a result, we would want to extend the life of our landfill because there's lots of numbers that get thrown around, but since we started this program way back, and I wasn't on council at that time, but it was a great, great thing that was done because we've extended the life of that landfill a substantial number of years. And this, hopefully, we'll also extend it even further because the cost of a new landfill is in the millions and millions. So I think this is a great program, and I think if people recognize that their bill will change by $2.89. I think Councillor Dubanowski and Councillor McIntosh said that. So I think when you look at it and say, oh, recycling is $6.31, yes, that's true, but the other two forms are reduced, so the net cost to the consumer is a bargain. And so congratulations to CAO and to Commissioner Lentz on putting this program, and to, yes, sorry.
Brian.
Yes, congratulations, Brian. Great, great work, great effort. I know that sometimes when you came to our Utilities Committee meeting, we would sometimes jump on you, but at the end, you've proven right, and it's a great program. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hirsch?
So I'm just going to go a little bit different and just ask a question in regards to the actual operations. So, you know, having said that, it is something to celebrate. I think it's the natural evolution, obviously. But there was some feedback and some data that was sent to me, and I just wanted to confirm it. So when we do recycle all the recyclables into one bin, there was some data I received that when you commingle that recycling, you can actually contaminate and become problematic. So is that vein of discussion somewhat even close to being truthful, or did CANPAC indicate some reluctance on commingling it together? Just wanted to understand.
Through the chair to Councillor Hirsch. So commingling with the most modern sorting technology available is not a problem. Contamination is always a problem, whether you commingle or not. If you throw contaminated glass into a glass bin at a depot, you may contaminate the entire bin of glass. It's just that you've then contaminated a like load as opposed to a mixed load. So contamination is always an issue. Grease, food waste, things like that can contaminate significantly, absolutely. But whether you commingle or not, you still have that issue with contamination. So that's a public education issue, and something we'll continue to work to ensure that we have as clean recycled material as possible.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this report? If we could vote. That was unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, moving on now to reports for reception. Our first item is 5.1 on page 72, draft minutes of the Medicine Hat Police Commission of April 19th and the police chief's report.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? All right. And that was unanimous.
Our next report for reception is the Municipal Planning Commission meeting minutes of April 25th, item 5.2 on page 94.
I move this report for reception.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Okay, good vote. And that was unanimous, thank you.
Moving on now to new bylaws, item 6.1 on page 100. You'll find bylaw 4476, a bylaw of the City of Medicine Hat to amend bylaw 4168, the land use bylaw.
I move for leave to introduce bylaw number 4476, and that'll be read a first time.
Second.
If we could vote. That was unanimous, thank you.
Our next bylaws, item 6.2 on page 102, bylaw 4479, a bylaw of the City of Medicine Hat to amend bylaw 1805, the waste bylaw, and with unanimous consent of council, this can go for all three readings tonight.
So I move for leave to introduce bylaw 4479 and be read a first time.
Second.
If we could vote. That was unanimous, thank you.
I move that bylaw number 4479 be read a second time.
Second.
Any questions or comments on second reading? If we could vote. That was unanimous, thank you.
Do I have to ask for?
Yes, ask for unanimous consent if you like.
Yep. So I would ask council to vote to go through on a third reading.
Second.
If we could vote. And that was unanimous. You may go for third reading.
Sorry. I move that bylaw 4479 be read a third time and passed.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Okay, we could vote. Well, it's unanimous. It's a big step for Medicine Hat. It's good.
Next bylaws, item 6.3 on page 108. It's bylaw 4480, a bylaw of the City of Medicine Hat to amend bylaw 4168, the land use bylaw, rezoning.
I move for leave. I move for leave to introduce bylaw number 4480, and that'll be read a first time.
Second.
If we could vote. That was unanimous. Thank you.
Moving on now to new business, 8.1, appointment to the Intermunicipal Collaboration Framework Steering Committee. The Mayor is tasked with appointing 2 council members to the committee to carry out the work for that. And I ask that City Council appoint Councillors Julie Friesen and Councillor Chris Samraj to the Intermunicipal Collaboration Framework Steering Committee.
Does we have to move that? Did somebody move that?
So moved. Second.
Any questions or comments? All right. And that was unanimous. Thank you. Seeing no more business before this council, we are adjourned.